We're live. Welcome, everyone. Would you like to kick us off?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining this Hot Topics session and R4 2024 release cycle review. I am Sarah Cowger, and I am part of the Sage Intacct support consulting team here at LBMC Technology Solutions. I've met some of you already in casework and meetings. Thanks y'all for joining. And if I haven't met you, it's nice to meet you. Now then, let's get started after Dawn does a brief presentation for some housekeeping.
Right, if we could go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
So we're going to be covering some great material today. If you have any questions as Sarah is presenting, please use the Q&A function. And we'll have some time carved out to answer those questions. And we might even have some consultants on the call who could answer them in real time. So be looking for that. Don't be shy. Be sure and ask us what's on your mind. Now, many of you are here for CPE credit. In order to be eligible for CPE credit, all poll questions must be answered. Now, following today's presentation, you will receive at least one, if not two, emails. The first email will come from me within 48 hours, and it will include the slides of this recording or of this presentation, a link to a recording of this presentation, and a very short survey. And again, I ask you to allow up to 48 hours to receive that. If you are looking to receive a CPE certificate, if you are eligible and have answered all poll questions, our sister company will be managing that process, and they will be sending out the certificates. They ask that you allow up to 2 weeks to receive that, and you have my contact information there. If you don't receive your certificate after 2 weeks, reach out to me, and I will help you chase that down. In 2 years, I've only had to do that twice. It's a pretty reliable system, but just for comfort, if you don't get it within 2 weeks, just let me know. So, Sarah, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Dawn. I really appreciate it. Now then, we're going to get into our hot topics for today. The first part of our time today, we're going to review 2 different hot topics. Both of these hot topics enhance the usability of your Sage Intacct experience. The hot topics we are going to discuss today are the Sage Intacct Marketplace, integrations or vendors as they may be referred to later in the discussion, and the enhanced email delivery service settings. Now for our first hot topic, the Sage Intacct Marketplace connections. I think this is a great enhancement to the end user experience that Sage Intacct allows integrations with other products, like Green Shades, our sponsor for today. The objectives of the first hot topic are to discover the offerings of the Sage Intacct Marketplace. What are the marketplace connections? Where can a list of these vendors be found? To understand the system requirements needed to enable the integration into Sage Intacct, and to learn how to add a web services user and a web services authorization into your Sage Intacct instance. We will have questions and answer session at the end of this particular hot topic review. You will see a variety of symbols throughout the presentation. A link symbol will have an attached URL, which will take you to a helpful resource like a designated topic in the release notes. And the people icon means we are going to pause for a polling question. Okay, let's dig into marketplace connections and extend the power of Sage Intacct to more areas of your business. If you would like to follow along, please see the web address located on the overview page. The Sage Intacct Marketplace offers a variety of innovative cloud solutions, all built to be best in class and all built to integrate with Sage Intacct from day one. With a variety of ways to manage your business processes through these connections, like point of sale, payroll, projects, and more, question what, in addition to the current functionality of Sage Intacct, does your business need? And then look for a solution in the marketplace. It is probably there. Sage Intacct offers a robust integration that allows automatic data flow into your financials, so you have the ability to get a complete picture of your financial position. Now let's look to the future. What you need today may grow into additional process improvements in the future. As this growth happens, unlike suite solutions, additional marketplace connections can be added. If there is a great new connection, get it. Make your processes better. Being able to extend your ecosystem lets you adapt. Searching for a solution is easy. You can search by industry, business need, or keyword. As you can see from the slide, there are many choices of categories and industry solutions for connections. Under categories, you will see Sage Recommended Solutions. These applications are marketplace offered by partners that specialize in accounts payable automation, accounts receivable automation, expense and spend management, or banking and payments. New market listings are just that, new and worth taking a look at to see what is now being offered. Under industry solutions, you will see choices for CRE construction and real estate to healthcare, not-for-profit, etc. If you're following along in the marketplace, you may click a category, industry solution, or grouping, or you may, as I have done, complete a vendor search for green shades. A list of vendors will be available for review. If you click onto a vendor, you will find a description tab. On the description tab, there will be an overview of what the vendor offers with key benefits, system requirements, price, and integration approved countries. The provider tab will offer additional vendor information, and the document tab will have any documents the vendor has provided for your review. If you remember, I just spoke about the description tab for the vendor, and I listed the information that would be found within the tab. The information I'm going to focus on is the system requirement information. This is where you can find out if the vendor requires your company to purchase a Sage Intacct Web Services Developer's License or not. If a license is needed, you do not know if you have a license already, please reach out to us and we will be glad to look to see if there is one already in use for your company or if one needs to be purchased. If one needs to be purchased, your sales account manager will be able to assist you with the purchase. On the screen, you can see that green shades does not require you to purchase a Sage Intacct Web Services Developer's License. Now we're going to take a moment for polling question number 1.
Great. So we're launching poll question number 1. Again, another reminder that in order to get your CPE certificate, all poll questions must be answered. So speaking of the marketplace in your Sage Intacct instance, how many marketplace connections are in use? And the choices are 0, 1, 2, or 3, or more. So I will keep the poll open for a bit here. Get your answers in. And I'll be closing this down in 5 seconds. All right. And here are the results. half of you don't have any, and looks like the rest of the group has at least one, two, or three. All right, Sarah, back to you.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we're going to discuss web services. What are they? Web services enable you to exchange Sage Intacct information with external applications and integrations. Data is sent or received in the form of API requests that are made through a web services endpoint. For example, you might have a CRM or bill payment system that you want to run externally, but post back to Intacct. Web services works as a mechanism to create, update, read, and delete data. In Sage Intacct, for web services to work as expected, a web service user and a web services authorization must be set up and active in your instance. If anyone is interested in detailed information about XML API through web services, you can see the XML API REST API and developer resource. Additionally, the Sage Intacct developer portal hosts detailed information about web service capabilities. At this point, we have discussed the overview and offerings of Sage Intacct Marketplace, as well as the requirements for a marketplace connection. We also have discussed what web services are. Now let's review where to go in your Sage Intacct instance to add a web services user and a web services authorization for a marketplace connection. Both will be added at the top level in the company module. The web services user will be added on the admin tab under users, roles, and groups. And the web service authorization will be added on the setup tab under configuration in company. What are web service users? Web service users exchange programmatically information with Sage Intacct via web service API calls. A web service user does not provide access to web services itself. Rather, a web service user is paired with the web services sender ID, which is an additional credential that lets you send requests to a web services endpoint. Web services users are similar to standard users in terms of how you set them up. They can have the same user types and administration privileges as a standard user, but there are a few key differences, including the web service user can access Sage Intacct API through web services. Well, what does that mean? Web service users are automatically limited to the API through web service access only, meaning they cannot log into your company through the user interface. The web service user can have permissions to approve and decline timesheets via API and projects. The API proxy permissions allows web service users only to approve or decline timesheets through an external application via API. The approval history will reflect the actions of the web service user. The web service user passwords remain until the admin resets it. Because many integrations rely on web service users to execute certain functions, web service user passwords do not automatically expire like standard user passwords do. With user services, an admin is required to reset manually the password via the user interface, and the user receives a new auto-generated password. If you have a developer's license and a new password is needed, please note that if you reset the web service user's password, you will break any and all existing integrations of that specific password. You will need to update the password in the integration as well. An additional difference is that web service users can't have single sign-on or multi-factor authentication. Because web service users are programmatic and never log into the user interface, both single sign-on and multi-factor authentication are automatically disabled for both. Now let's discuss adding a web service user. To add a web service user for external applications that need a unique user for Sage Intacct API calls, you will start with creating a web service user or a user ID. Remember, this is similar to creating a standard user in Sage Intacct. You will continue to populate all wanted and required information. If a user is a business user, they can have off, limited, or full admin privileges. The users can be restricted by entity or entities, department or departments, or territory or territories. For security, never share standard user credentials with an external application or integration using the API. Instead, create a separate web services user and provide those credentials. This allows you to control permissions separately to that application or integration on your own. If your instance is not role-based, permissions for the web service users will be granted through subscriptions, then permissions. If your instance is role-based, I suggest creating a role specific for the web service user with the role name reflecting the role's purpose. There are permissions needed to add, edit, view, inactivate, or delete or reactivate a web service user. Those permissions are located under subscription and administration. Now we're going to demo the web service, adding a web service user. I am in the company software, and we are going to add our web service user, which is the first piece of adding the connection. I'm going to go to company. I'm going to go to web service users. I'm going to add. And here I'm going to add green shades. I will add an address, an email address, and a contact name. It may be that you need to go ahead and create the contact name before you add, or you can add, or you can add in the system. At this point, you can select how you want your user type to be, and you can select the admin privileges. If you need to add a role, you can add your role. At this point, you can add user entity, user departments, or user territories, and you will save at this place. Takeaway while discussing web service users: if instead of creating a separate web service user for a connection, someone uses their personal login information for the API call to come in, then this connection is subject to break when the user password is updated. For example, every so often we receive a case in support where a standard user is constantly being locked out of their Sage Intacct instance. The lockout is being repeated multiple times, one right after the other, literally within minutes. The frustration is real. What is happening? Why is it working and then not working? When we receive a case into support for a lockout with any description that is remotely similar to an API call password break on a user ID, the first thing I look to see is if there's an API call coming in on the standard user credentials. If the standard user has updated their password, but not updated the password for the web services user that is using their credentials, the API call coming in, usually pinging about one time a minute, will be repeatedly locking out the standard user. When this happens, the connection has to be broken with the API call. I recommend connecting a web service user with web services credentials that are not associated with the standard user credentials. If the integration does not have a license to connect to Sage Intacct, this would be a use case for purchasing a web services developer license. What are web services authorizations? A web service authorization allows you to take control of who makes web service requests to your company. Both web service users and web service authorizations using a sender ID must be set up and active in Sage Intacct for a vendor to successfully integrate with your instance. A sender ID is the ID used when passing web service requests. Sender IDs are case sensitive and cannot be changed after creation. This is what will be set up in the web service authorization. Let's talk about web service authorizations a little more. Use web service authorizations list to control which sender IDs can and cannot make web service requests to your company. If a sender ID is not on the list, any web services request they make to your company will fail. For this reason, it is important to review your regular web services activity and the integrations to ensure the proper sender IDs are on your authorization list. As you can inactivate a web service user authorization as a best practice, instead of completely removing a web service authorization record. Inactivate sender IDs are not able to make web service requests to your company, but retain the record for your historical purposes and also gives you the option to activate it again later if your need changes. This is easier than having to recreate the record again in the future. Now we're going to demo where we go to add a web service authorization. We're going to start back in our company software. We're going to go to Company. We are going to go to our Setup tab in Configuration of Company. We're going to go to our Security tab. We're going to Edit. And this is where we would add a web service authorization. Here we're going to click Add. We're going to add our sender, a description if you would like, and that it is active. I like to do. Web services. Oh, I'm sorry, live spelling. And we're going to save. And now then we've added our web service authorization. As you review your sender IDs, if you do not recognize a sender ID on the list, you may need to investigate the ID. Some sender IDs in your list may have been from a support action or some sort of support in the past and may need to be inactivated or removed. Before you remove an unknown sender IDs from the web service authorization list, run an API usage detail report to see who has made web service requests to your company in the last 63 days and review the API usage tab and usage insights. Now we are going to look at creating an API usage detail report. The custom report writer allows you to build an API usage detail report. This report is especially useful for determining who has made web services requests to your company and any types of requests that were made. You can use this report to double-click your web service authorization list to ensure that all necessary sender IDs are included in the list. You can also use this report to identify any unknown sender IDs and track their actions. We are going to go through the demo of this. We're going to go back to our company. We're going to go to Company. We're going to go to Reports. In the All tab, we're going to go down into Advanced. We're going to click the plus side next to custom reports. Under the select a primary data source, we're going to click the API usage detail. Now we're going to add our columns. We're going to add client type, DTD version, function name, login ID, number of transactions, partner ID, status, and when created. Now we're going to reorder the columns. We're going to put when created at the top. Client type will be next. DTD version, our login ID, our partner ID, our function name, our status, and our number of transactions. We're now going to go to step 6 in the steps here. And the only thing that we're going to do here is we are going to sort when created by descending. Now we are going to jump to the Save and Add menu. We will name this. I'm going to add it to the menu. At this point, if I would like to run it, I can run the report. I'm going to run this in XML, and I'm going to view it. You will see on the screen that you now have your information that's going to show you when the call was created, the client type, the DTD version, login ID, partner name, function name, status, and number of transactions. Now that you've built the report, and you can determine if there are any updates needed to your web service authorization list. As I mentioned earlier, the API usage tab and the usage insights is also another place to gather information on what APIs are calling into your instance. The tab provides a comprehensive view of monitoring and analyzing API activity across your entire company. You can use the information to identify issues and optimize your API integrations. If you identify any unsuccessful API transactions, you can export and share the data with your developers or third-party partners to fix them. For consoles, it shows API activity across multiple companies. The data on the page automatically refreshes daily at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right, we've got our second poll question up. And it's, are you prepared for holiday festivities? And your choices are, I'm way ahead of the curve. Shopping is done. Gifts are wrapped. Second choice is, I'm waiting for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Third choice is, I don't prepare. Bring on full contact last minute shopping. And the final question, the final option is, I don't want to think about this yet. Though when Sarah sent me this poll question, I did start thinking about it. So we'll give you a few minutes to answer this. Get your answers in. Again, a reminder, all poll questions have to be answered to receive CPE credit. So I will close this down in 5 seconds. All right. And we've got people who are looking for deals. Most of our audience is waiting for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The rest of you are kind of with me. They don't want to think about this yet. All right, back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Dawn. I'm with you. Don't we have months away or something? I don't know. I'm not prepared. All right. Now then we are to a Q&A session. Let's talk questions and answers. Is there anybody that has any questions and answers so far?
We do not.
All
We do
right.
not have anything in the Q&A.
Great. That's super. All right. Now we're going to go into our second part of our hot topics for today, the enhanced email delivery service setup. The objectives are to discover what enhanced email delivery service settings allow, to learn how to review your current company email sender domain settings, as well as how to add and authenticate a domain. And we will go the additional step of validating, which is completing the enhancement setup. We're going to review 2 errors and how to troubleshoot and resolve those errors, and to learn where to go and see the history of your email delivery. In your instance, you can allow Sage Intacct to send an invoice, a statement, and other emails on behalf of your domain to your customers. Sending emails with your domain as the sender keeps the branding of your company consistent and increases the likelihood that customers will receive your emails. The Sage Intacct wanted to make the delivery service even better. So in the R3 2024 release, Sage Intacct updated your instance with an enhanced email delivery service. And with this enhancement, not only will your email delivery be more successful, but you may configure many domains and subdomains within your Sage Intacct instance. For instance, if you authenticate domain.com, you'll be able to send authenticated emails from subdomains like billing.domain.com and invoice.domain.com. When the release occurred, additional requirements were added for custom domains to be validated within Sage Intacct. If you have a custom domain in your instance, currently you may send emails using the domain, but you have not been required to validate it. Most emails being sent with a custom domain from your instance are being received. That validation does take it one step further to ensure the best delivery service. We do receive cases in support where emails from the custom domain are not being received. This can happen to one or too many of your recipients. Working through and completing the enhanced email delivery service setup so your custom domain is validated resolves almost all, very close to all of your issues. Sage Intacct now announced that starting in May 2025, all customers who send emails in Sage Intacct using custom domains must authenticate and validate their domain. This is a crucial step as Sage Intacct transitions fully to using enhanced email delivery service. So do remember, this will become mandatory if you do use custom domains as of May. Now we're going to go on to polling question number 3.
Here we go. Do you have a custom domain listed in Sage Intacct? Yes, I think so, but I'm not sure. No. And the final option is, what is a custom domain? All right, we'll give this 5 more seconds before I close it down. All right, closing the poll.
Right.
And here are our results, Sarah.
Super.
47% think that they might be, but aren't sure. 12% said yes. 28% said no, and we've got 14 people who are really curious about a custom domain.
Great. Thanks, Dawn. Well, let's talk about it. So what are we discussing today? What is a custom domain? A custom email domain, referred to for the remaining of our session today, is called a custom domain, is a unique name that appears after the @ symbol in your email address. This part of the email address indicates the online location where the email is hosted. The domain routes emails to the correct email server and ensures successful delivery. The email domain usually refers to the name of the organization or company that owns the email address. We're going to talk about some really boring words or acronyms, but they do mean something. So a key term we will be using in today's discussion is DKIM. So let's talk about it. Your own email domain is likely already known as a safe sender in your customer's email application. And as an enhancement, the email delivery service supports DKIM authentication, the industry's leading standard for email security. So what is it? It is Domain Keys Identified Mail, DKIM. Is an email authentication method that verifies the sender of an email and ensures that the messages haven't been altered in transit. Why do we use DKIM? The main purpose of DKIM is to prevent spoofing. Email spoofing is changing the original message's content and sending it from an alternate sender that looks like a trusted source. DKIM ensures that your emails are delivered to their intended recipients quickly and reliably without this concern. I have seen this question in support cases, whether or not DKIM authentication is supported in the email delivery, and it is fantastic news that it is now supported. So this is something your IT team may ask, and you can let them know that it is. Another key term we will be using in today's discussion is SPF. That is a Sender Policy Framework, is an email authentication protocol that helps prevent spam, spoofing, and phishing attacks. How it works is SPF lists authorized IP addresses in a DNS text record. When an email is received, the email server checks if the IP address matches one in the SPF record. The benefits are this, is that SPF helps protect email senders and recipients by preventing attackers from imitating a domain, improving email delivery, and complying with DMARC, an email validation system. So where do you start with all that information? I think the best place to start is to view what we want as an end result of the setup process. So let's see what that end result looks like in Sage Intacct. As you can see on the screen, the goal is for your domain name to have the validated domain status. I have also included the permissions and other requirements needed for this process. Please note, if a domain name was previously configured and validated prior to the R3 2024 release, the domain status will now be authenticated and not validated until the enhanced validation process has been completed. That sounds great, but where do you start to see the current status of your custom domain? First, let's review the email sender domain settings in your Sage Intacct instance. We're going to start at the top level, go to Company, the Setup tab, under Configuration in Company, go to the Security tab, and scroll down and find your email sender domain settings. If you have a custom domain name in Sage Intacct, it will be listed here in the domain name section. The domain status for this customer domain name will show on the row under the domain status heading. If the status is validated, then there are not any additional steps to be completed in Sage Intacct. If the domain status is anything other than validated, then there are some steps to complete for the validation. For the next part of the presentation, we are making the assumption that there is either no custom domain listed or the custom domain name, if listed, is not validated. Now let's go through the process of adding, authenticating, and validating the custom domain. Is your custom domain in the domain name box? If it is not, click the Edit button on the screen. Then click the Add Domain button, and the domain configuration box will open. Enter your domain. Remember, this is what comes after the @ symbol, and click the Authenticate Domain button on the domain configuration box that opened. When the authentication process is complete, a DNS key table will be available. Okay, great. Well, what is the DNS key? Glad you were thinking that. DNS means Domain Name System, and it is a record that contains a public signing key, and the DNS key records are used to verify the authenticity of DNS records by adding cryptographic signatures. Simply put, a way to help emails be delivered as expected. To find your DNS key table, you click on the domain name and the table will appear with the validation domain button below it. If needed, you can also delete a domain name with the delete domain button. Before you click validate, the information in the Intacct generated DNS key table will need to be added to your DNS server. You may need to work with your IT team for this step. Once the DNS keys have been added to your DNS server, click validate. Hopefully it works perfectly the first time and the domain name will be validated. Validation can take up to 72 hours, so patience is a virtue in this part of the process. But it is possible that you will receive an error when you click the validate button. If you do, that's okay. We're going to work through the process of completing the validation together. Let's troubleshoot. What was the failure? Was it authenticate domain or was it validate domain? If the error was authenticate domain and it failed, wait 5 minutes and try again. If the error was validate domain failed, then Sage Intacct recommends that you verify the DNS keys were entered correctly into the DNS server, wait 10 minutes, and try again. Remember, it can take 72 hours for the DNS key entries to be updated. What if you continue to get the validation error? So these are the 6 steps that I work through when troubleshooting a validation error. These can be completed by anyone that has permissions to view the domain configuration DNS key table. The table on your screen is the DNS key troubleshooting table I use to validate each DNS key. Each row of information must be validated individually. Start with a way to look up DNS record information. You will want to use a DNS checker. There is not a native DNS checker in Sage Intacct. You will want to complete an internet search for the best checker for you. An example is the MX Toolbox Super Tool. This is a DNS checker that is an external tool, and Sage Intacct does not maintain it, nor does LBMC. Step 1 is an SPF record lookup. You are looking up the long string of characters .yourdomain.com located in row 1 in the DNS table. You will copy the whole string and paste it into your search bar in your DNS checker. Select the SPF record lookup from the drop-down menu. Click on the SPF record lookup with the expected result being the green shaded box that you see on your screen. If there's not a green shaded box, this is an error indicator for row 1. Step 2 and step 3, we're looking at the DKIM keys. For row 2 of the DNS table, take the first 3 characters before the underscore and add these characters to the end of the domain name after the colon, and this string of characters to the search box and complete the search. As you see on the screen, if you do have the green shaded box, then your information is correct in your DNS server. If it is not, that is an error. The same for row 3, except you're going to take the first 4 characters before the underscore and add these to the end of the domain name after the colon. Add this string of characters to the search box and complete your search. Again, the expected result will be a green shaded box. If there is not a green shaded box, there is an error indicator for row 3. Hang in there, we've got more. Step 4, from row 4 of the DNS table, take the information in row 4 and put it in the search box. Complete a search for TXT lookup and press enter. The expected result will be a record that comes back with an open quote and the information Intacct-ESK equals a string of characters and then an end quote. If the Intacct-ESK is not listed in the record column, this would be an error for step 4. You will also do this for step 5. You will take the information in row 5 and put it in your search box. The expected result will be a record that comes back with an open quote, Intacct-ESK equals a string of characters, then an end quote. If it is not there, that is an error for step 5. The last step of the process is step 6. From row 6 of the DNS table, take the information in row 6 and put it in the search box. Complete a search for the SPF record lookup and press enter. The expected result will be a green shaded box, as you see on your screen. If there is not a green shaded box, this is an error indicator for row 6. If there are any errors in any of the 6 steps that were just completed, please review which step or steps had errors with your DNS server host. More times than not, many validation errors are located and can be corrected from these troubleshooting steps. Once all of the steps are green, it is time to validate again. Once again, remember, patience is a virtue. It can take 72 hours to complete the process. Sage Intacct highly recommends that you configure DMARC for your domain. However, not all receiving servers will perform a DMARC check before accepting a message. Most major ISPs do. Now, I'm going to use a fantastic technical information about DMARC from dmarc.org. So what is DMARC? DMARC, which stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication Reporting and Conformance, is an email authentication policy and reporting protocol. It builds on the widely deployed SPF and DKIM protocols, adding linkage to the author from domain name, published policies for recipient handling and authentication failures, and reporting from receivers to senders to improve and monitor protection of the domain from fraudulent email. Now that we know what DMARC technically is and does and why it is important, how does it fit into the enhanced email delivery service setup? DMARC, in more common terms, is an email authentication protocol. It helps domain owners protect their domains from unauthorized use, commonly known as email spoofing. DMARC is not configured in Sage Intacct. To configure DMARC, you add a TXT record to your domain. This would be another setup that your IT team would most likely complete for you if needed. The new email delivery history log has been added into Sage Intacct. They have created this new log for validated domains. This log lets you check to see if any sent emails encounter errors. You'll see a list of failed emails with the ability to drill down and see which email addresses cannot be reached to correct the errors. To get to the new email delivery history log, go to Company, admin tab, history and reports, then new email delivery history. By default, administrators automatically have access to the new email delivery log. Access to the log can also be given to other users by changing their company permissions. When reviewing a list of emails, each record in the log represents one email, each of which might have multiple recipients. Intacct recommends when sending an email, limit the distribution list to 1,000 email recipients or less for optimal email delivery function. In the log, you can view the history by either show errors only or show all emails. You can filter in both of the views. You can also click into each record via a view option. The email delivery log will have a status that provides insight into the history of the email. What was the email address, where the email was sent, what the recipient status, a timestamp plus additional information. When troubleshooting incorrect email addresses, remember in most cases, emails are sent to either customers, vendors, or employees. When you send an email, the email address is typically pulled from the related contact record. If the email address for a customer, vendor, or email or employee is incorrect, make sure to correct the error in their contact record. If the recipient does not have a contact record, you also have the option to manually enter one or more email addresses at the time that you send the email. Does the email log capture delayed errors? The email log only lists errors that are encountered at the time the emails are sent. Some email errors return fields after the email is sent. For example, a particular email domain might return an error several hours after the original email was sent. These errors will not be captured in the log. Sage Intacct provides a table. I am so sorry. Sage Intacct provides a table of descriptions of fields. All fields have relevant information, but the status and result field to me really direct the correction of the error. I hope you are now comfortable in completing the validation of your custom domain in your Sage Intacct instance. Now we have time for questions and answers.
So Sarah, Jason has a question.
Yes, go right
What are the
ahead.
top uses for having your domain in Sage? Sending out invoices? Does it attach a PDF of an invoice?
That is, I will circle back to you after the, we'll circle back to you, Jason, if you'll leave your information, and we'll get you some information on how to do what you're asking.
It's the only question that we have right now.
Okay, great.
Our fourth poll question. And now that you've learned about enhanced email delivery service, are you going to, one, immediately go and add, authenticate, and validate a custom domain, immediately go and verify your custom domain has a domain status of validated, immediately review the new enhanced email delivery log because it is the coolest thing since sliced bread, or a combination of two or more of the above? Susanna, you mentioned that you're not seeing the poll question. However, I've got people answering. So I believe it's visible to all. For those of you who can't see the poll question, would you please go to to the Q&A section, and I'll add this in manually, but the Q&A session, and leave your name, please. So the question is, now that you've learned about enhanced email delivery services, are you going to, one, add, authenticate, and validate a custom domain? Two, verify your custom domain has a domain status of validated. Three, review the new enhanced email delivery log because it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. Or four, a combination of above. So you can just give me 1, 2, 3, or 4 and add that to the Q&A, and I will add it manually. I'm not sure why you're not seeing it. We did get a good number of people responding to the question. So I'm going to end the poll. Here are the results. Wonderful. So coming up next, we're going to give Sarah a little bit of a break. So Sarah, if you would stop sharing, we're going to bring on Deanna Brooks, who is the leader of our strategic account managers team. And she's going to be talking about, I'm going to share my screen here. She's going to be talking about customer success plans. And Deanna, can you see, has the plan document
No,
come up?
not yet. I don't see it still.
All right. Trying to figure out how to get out of here without.
Here, let me see.
Got it. Hang on just a sec. How about that?
I see your Open Zoom Workplace app. It's just the Zoom. There we are. Fantastic.
Okay. Little delay. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no worries, and thank you for bringing this up. Hi, everyone. I'm Deanna Brooks. I am the Senior Strategic Account Manager for LBMC's Intacct practice, and very excited to talk about our support plans. Many of you have been on our plans and or may still be currently on them, but we have overhauled our plans to provide more value to our customers. We now have 3 categories, bronze, silver, and gold. And the bronze support plan is going to look very familiar to those who have subscribed to our support plans in the past. It still includes unlimited support incidences, continuing education on our projects, or continuing education on events, and then discounted rates on future projects. What is new is it now provides reporting services up to 2 hours. So you have basically a 2-hour credit to have reports be created by an LBMC consultant. So moving on to our silver and gold, and this is where the real key differentiators lie. The silver and gold plans do include a technical account manager who will meet with you on a regular basis to discuss any pain points, review your business processes, recommendations on new product features or modules. So the silver support includes everything that is in bronze, but it also includes implementation of additional core modules like purchasing, PEA, or order entry, and also purchasing and order entry transaction definitions at no additional cost. You get a discount for 30% on Sage University, which is your online Intacct training subscription. You receive a semi-annual meeting with a technical account manager, 4 hours of reporting services, and 2 hours of training to be used at your discretion. It has a faster service level response time and dashboard support. So that's really the most popular plan. That way you get to meet with one of our consultants on a semi-annual basis to talk about your Intacct needs. And then the gold support includes everything in bronze and silver. except for your support cases are reviewed by a Intacct practice manager. Instead of semi-annual meetings, you'll receive quarterly meetings with a technical account manager. You receive up to 8 hours of reporting and 3 hours of training to be used at your discretion. And then the gold includes our fastest SLA response time, which is up to 1 hour for urgent tickets and 2 hours for standard tickets. So we're really excited to release these new plans. If you would like more information on our support plans, you can reach out to me if I'm your account manager, or Greg Barth, and we'll be happy to provide you with more information.
Great. Thank you. So that brings us to another poll question.
And you're still showing the customer success plans.
Yep. I'm going to go back and see if I can get this relaunched. I'm going to have to stop sharing to do that. Nope.
You've stopped sharing.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was keeping the poll question. Oh, I know. Hey, bear with me. I'm sorry. There we go. Can you see poll question number 5? I would like to talk to my strategic account manager about customer success plans. First choice, yes, I'm going for the gold. Second one, yes, to help me decide which plan would be best for my organization. And then final question is not yet, maybe later. And again, a reminder, all poll questions must be answered to receive CPE credit. And after I close out this poll, we're going to bring on Stephen Smith from Green Shades. Sarah teased Green Shades at the very beginning. We saw them as the example that she used in the Marketplace section. So I'm going to end the poll. And Stephen, if you could share your screen.
Sure thing. Hey, everyone. Thanks for giving Green Shades a little bit of your time today. Again, my name is Stephen Smith. I've been with Green Shades for a little over 2 years and in the industry for a little more than 20. And so let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll get started. Okay, here we are. So I only have a few slides for you today, and I'll spend our time sharing with you who we are, what we think makes us different, how we play nice with Intacct, what products we offer, and how you can learn more. Okay, so who is Green Shades? So from our perspective, we're a little team of payroll, HR, and tax nerds headquartered down in Jacksonville, Florida. We got our start almost 25 years ago providing tax and compliance solutions for ERPs. And we've evolved into a comprehensive HRIS solutions provider. Now, we develop and support all of our applications ourselves. So no white labels, no call centers. That approach is really at the core of our philosophy, and we think critical to the customer experience. So what are we good at and what makes us different? Well, first, we provide one of the only true in-house solutions with integration to Intacct. So what that means is we don't impose payroll deadlines and we don't step in between your relationship with your bank. Second, we are nimble and we are agile. If you are doing something complex or unusual, our team can work with you to ensure we handle it. If a cookie cutter solution doesn't feel right to you, we can be a good resource. And then finally, we are overwhelmingly service oriented. If you're in search of the kind of high touch environment that might be hard to find with larger providers, we might be just the ticket. Now, whether it's via traditional email or chat within the application, or really just picking up the phone, you'll quickly get to know the team that supports you. And as I mentioned, we do play nice with Intacct. So our comprehensive integration ensures that data flows smoothly between your payroll and your ERP. When you modify dimensions or dimensional values in Intacct, those changes will sync over to GreenShades, eliminating any need for double entry. And our custom fields capture those dimensional values and pass them back to your GL, closing the loop and enabling you to leverage your labor data for business insights. And that's what it's all about, right? And then finally, here's a look at the comprehensive solution. So as you can see, we provide deep capability across the payroll HRIS domain. So that's including payroll, HR, benefits, tax, time and labor management. And you have the opportunity to choose the package that's right for you. We'd love to help you learn more. And if that sounds like a good idea to you, please contact your LBMC Strategic Account Manager. And again, we thank you for your time and have a great day.
Thank you, Stephen. Here we've got another poll question. When it comes to payroll, HR, and tax management, our organization often struggles with, and we've got some, you can choose more than one here: lack of flexibility and control, staying up to date on the compliance regulations and changes, complex payroll calculations, data flow, or lack of integration with Sage Intacct, or other issues with regard to payroll, HR, and tax management. And Sarah, before I'm going to leave the poll question up for just a couple of beats here. Before we go into R4 highlights, there are some questions that came in the last segment.
Okay.
And this is from Will. How does a web services user log? Oh, how does a web services user log into Intacct? Is it a different URL than normal?
So the web service authorization is what allows them to call in with an API call. So it is through the API call process. I am not versed in the technical world of API calls. I will be glad to get some more information for you, but they don't, it's done through an API call, and I'm sorry, I don't have a way to elaborate on specifically that, but it does keep the user from being able to essentially log in like a standard user and access your system. So they don't have that ability, which is the great thing about using the user over, like using a standard user login and having them log in through a standard user.
And then we have a comment from Beth on our team. Having the domain in the system is going to help when sending out invoices to customers, payment notifications to vendors, and even assist with reporting that you are sending from Intacct to those within your company. So thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
Excellent. I think that's it, Sarah. We can go on to our 4 highlights.
Okay, great. I believe, Dawn, I need to reshare, correct?
Yes.
And let me make sure that y'all can see my screen. Let me know, please.
It's up.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, Deanna, for taking your time to go over the plans. That is really helpful and hopefully can help the customer, our customers and clients. And thank you, GreenShades, for sponsoring today and giving that insightful presentation. The agenda for this portion of our meeting today includes an overview of updated or newly added features released on November 8th. Towards the end of the presentation, we will review the release dates for the 2025 calendar year releases and then take a look at some additional resources. As a reminder, Intacct releases updates on a quarterly cycle. Many of these updates are based on ideas submitted by customers that are posted in the Intacct community. So if you have ideas, do submit them. They really do try to listen and pay attention to their customers. If you do not have access to the community, please let us know and we will be happy to assist you in getting access. You can easily find the link to the release notes from your home page screen in your Intacct instance. There you will find video recordings and more detailed information available for further review. As a reminder, as we walk through these slides, the link on the URL will have an attached URL, which will take you to a designated topic in the release notes for additional information. And the people icon means we will be pausing for a polling question. Sage Copilot. There are some early adopter programs. Sage Intacct is introducing Copilot's variance analysis early adopter program and search help with Copilot early adopter program. Copilot variance analysis provides insights into budgets or prior period differences so business leaders can proactively investigate discrepancies and address spending concerns. Copilot notifications are designed to keep budget owners in the loop, whether it's a timely update or an on-demand review. You can drill into report insights to see exactly how your budget is doing, including detailed breakdowns and visualizations. Copilot variance analysis includes the following: automated alerts, real-time variance tracking, data visualizations, drill down analysis, detailed variance insights, and targeted data visibility. Now let's talk about the search help with Copilot. The early adopter release of Sage Intacct's new semantic search engine is designed to revolutionize the way you find help and answers within Sage Intacct. Copilot understands the context and intent behind queries, providing more accurate and relevant results. While it is still in the early phases, Sage Intacct is offering a limited number of users the chance to check out this innovative solution. The AI-powered semantic search offers the following benefits: natural language understanding, increased efficiency, intelligent recommendations. As you can see on the page, the feature is in the Help and Support menu. Enter a query using natural language in the search box located at the bottom of the search help panel. The more specific you are, the more accurate the results will be. Copilot responds with an answer and provides links to additional information. This is really helpful for people like me who can never figure out how to make something actually understand what I'm trying to look for. It really is, it's going to be a great feature. There are AI-powered automation in Sage Intacct. So Sage Intacct has some great features in the release. On the screen, you will see new or updated AI features. What we're going to focus on now is taking advantage of AP automation. We're going to look at a video, and this video highlights the advantages of AP automation that provides to streamline your AP process using AI and machine learning.
Meet Emma. She works in the accounts payable group at Keyword, and just found out from her coworkers that AP automation is now available in Sage Intacct. AP automation lets Emma upload and even email bills as they come in, making it easier for her to keep up with the bills. Emma just got a bill from Paperclips for office supplies. Let's follow Emma as she uses AP automation to upload this bill and have Sage Intacct create the transaction for her.
Look, there is an upload button listed on the bills list. I want to try uploading the bill I just got from Paperclips. I'll select the Upload button. And then I drag and drop the bill from Paperclips. This bill is a PDF file, which is a supported format. Well, that was easy. The system says it's analyzing the bill.
Once the bill is uploaded, Sage Intacct uses its AI capabilities to analyze the file and determine the vendor, the line items, and some dimension values, including location and department. It also checks to see if the bill is a duplicate. Users can upload one bill at a time or multiple bills at once. Analyzing the bill takes very little time. Users can continue working on other things in Sage Intacct while the system analyzes and creates the bill.
It looks like the bill is done analyzing and is now listed as a draft. Time to review the bill. I select Edit on the bill. I have split screen enabled in my preferences, so the bill I uploaded displays next to the transactions the system created. This makes it easy to review the information. It looks like the file I uploaded is also added as an attachment to the bill. The system assigned the right vendor, Paperclips, the correct number of line items, and the line item values, including the location and department dimensions. I need to update the GL account for the last line item, conferences, since they are for an upcoming conference. I'll just make that change and post the bill.
Every bill you add and post using AP automation improves the accuracy of future transactions. You can see how big of a time saver uploading bills using AP automation can be. Bills in many formats can be uploaded, including PDF, JPEG, and PNG. In addition to uploading bills, the system can automatically create draft bills when an attached file is emailed into the system. To email bills into the system, they must be sent to the specific email addresses assigned to your instance of Sage Intacct. The email addresses for your instance are found on the Accounts Payable configuration page in the Bill Automation Settings section. What email address you use also specifies where in the system the bill is created. There is an email address for the top level and one for each entity in the system. Emailing the bill to the top level address creates the draft bill at the top level. Emailing it to the entity address creates the bill in that specific entity. If multiple files are attached to a single email, each file is used to create a separate transaction. Let's follow Emma as she emails a bill she just received from North Gas and Electric.
I just got the email with this month's North Gas and Electric utility bill. This is a good one to try emailing into Sage Intacct. I'll start by forwarding the email to the keyword@sagemail.com email address. There is the bill from North Gas and Electric that I sent by email. I'll review the draft bill and see if it is ready for posting. Just like the other bills I uploaded, the system has matched it to the right vendor. The line items are also correct. I think I might be able to save even more time by having the North Gas and Electric bill sent directly to the upload email address.
You can view the number of automated transactions processed in the system by AP automation from the Automated Transactions portion of the Subscriptions page. Go to Company, Admin, Usage Metrics, Subscription Usage. This list shows you how many automated transactions for the current month. You can view the transactions from prior months as well. AP automation streamlines the process of entering and creating bills in Sage Intacct. It uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to match the vendor, line items, and amounts. Contact your account manager to get AP automation enabled in your instance of Sage Intacct.
Great. That's some great information. Now let's look at company and administration. With the R4 release, Intacct has added your company ID, your customer ID to your company information, general information tab, and your setup configuration. This was updated so you no longer have to search through old emails for your Sage Intacct customer ID or email in to support. We do get those. For example, you need your customer ID to create an account for the Sage Intacct community or Sage University. When Sage Intacct made this change, they also changed the label for the original ID field to the company ID. Going to show you where to look at that, where to find that. We're going to go back to our company called software. We're going to go back to our company. And in setup tab under configuration, your customer ID is located right below your company ID. Sage Intacct has added permissions to support the new features released in the R4 2024. Usually new permissions that are added during a release prompt support cases. I've included a link to the new permissions that have been added to the release. Hopefully this helps mitigate frustration when wanting to try out and or learn about new release features. New permissions are automatically off by default unless otherwise noted. When you go to, if you want to review any of the permissions, you can see a list here from your release notes. They continue to add and update, so it's been an ongoing change. A few notables are accounts payable, accounts receivable, and time and expense, where they've added vendor reconciliation, which allows you to run a vendor reconciliation report to view how credits and payments are reconciled to bills. Customer reconciliation under accounts receivable allows you to run the customer reconciliation report to view how customer credits and payments are reconciled to invoices. In a time and expense, there are electronic receipts that list, view, edit, delete, upload, and manage staff electronic receipts. AP automation for support for tax solutions. AP automation now populates tax information for companies that use the taxes application. This means that less manual data entry is needed before posting in order to capture the transaction tax. AP automation, which is an add-on feature to accounts payable, streamlines your data entry process to save you time and money. Intacct automatically creates draft bills from bill documents that you email or upload into Sage Intacct. Bill details are automatically populated for you using data from the original document in the vendor information record. So when you upload or email a bill and the predicted location is a taxable location, AI will determine the header level tax information for the transaction. In accounts payable, there is reconciling payments and credits to bills. This is going to be a great help. You can easily see how payments and applied credits match to bills using the vendor reconciliation report. At a glance, you can see not only how much you owe the vendor, but also how payments and credits are matched to bills. The vendor reconciliation report answers the following types of questions. Which credits and payments were applied to a given bill? Where was a given credit applied? which transactions share a specified match sequence, and which transactions remain partially matched or not matched at all. I know from support cases, it really can be a challenge when you're trying to drill in and locate the payments and credits on bills. Let's talk about the details. Match sequences are alpha document sequences used in the vendor reconciliation report to show the relationship between bills and the credits are applied to them. Sage Intacct assigns a match sequence to a bill when you apply a payment or a credit against it. All payment entries that relate to the bill use the same sequence, establishing a relationship between them. As long as the bill is in a partially paid state, match sequences display in lowercase, indicating that the bills are not completely reconciled. After a bill is paid in full, the match sequences are changed to uppercase letters, which is a great visual cue. In the case of a credit, such as an adjustment or an advance, match sequence is assigned to the credit when it's applied to the transaction. You can track how the credit is matched to transactions by looking at the credit's balancing entries. The credit entry and the credit balancing entries share the same match sequence. This sequence displays in lowercase letters until the credit is fully applied. You can filter the vendor reconciliation report to show you transactions that are unmatched, partially matched, or fully matched. You can also filter for a given match sequence. Now then, we're going to demo how to add this. We're going to go back to our company software. We're going to go to the company tab, company module, the setup tab. Under settings, we're going to add a document sequence. The sequence ID and the sequence name can be one and the same or separate. I'm going to add AP reconciliation. You want to select alpha as your sequence type. This limits the number. If you want a maximum sequence to be shorter than 16 characters, override the default for primary sequence maximum. It will limit the number of increments allowed for the sequence. You really don't have to do that. That's only if you want to. For your primary sequence, you want to enter an A. This is the initial value that Sage Intacct will use for the matching code. The second sequence is B and the third C and so on. After the sequence increments to Z, the new sequence will be AA. Now you can save. Now then, we're going to enable the vendor reconciliation. We're going to go to the accounts payable module, setup, configuration. We're going to scroll down to document sequencing. We are going to select the enable vendor reconciliation. And here you will see that it has pre-filled what we have just created. If you do not see it here, you do want to go back and check that type and make sure it is alpha and not numeric. It has to be alpha for it to be enabled here. And we're going to save. When you do that, it is going to open up some permissions. I'm going to go to my user. And we're going to go into the permission and add the vendor reconciliation report run option and save. This is the vendor reconciliation report and how it will look. Pay bills enhancement for early adopters. If you are looking for higher capacity bill processing, easier ways to drill down to credits, and the ability to sort and filter columns, Sage Intacct's latest enhancements to bill pays offers these improvements for early adopters. These enhancements are useful if you do any of the following. You regularly process over 1,000 bills to a single vendor and merge payments in the outbox to combine them. Selectively apply vendor credits to payments, searching through many available credits, or you want to refine a list of bills to pay on the fly. You can apply to see if you are available for the early adopter program if you match those requirements. Accounts receivable has also created, they've also created a new feature called reconciling customer payments and credit invoices. You can easily see how payments and applied credits match the invoices using the customer reconciliation report, very similar to the AP report. At a glance, you can see not only how much customer owes, but also how payments and credits were matched to these invoices. The customer reconciliation report answers the following types of questions. Which credits and payments were applied to a given invoice? Where was a given credit applied? Which transactions share a specified match sequence? And what transactions remain partially matched or not matched at all? There is an enhancement to the accounts receivable statement. You can remove the need for customers to perform manual calculations by adding a running balance to your customer statement template. I think that is a great addition there. This adds a running balance to your existing custom templates using a merge field. The running balance for the accounts receivable statements is supported in printed document templates only. Standard statement templates, those with the document owner of Intacct, do not include running balances. Also, I would like to point out that there is a sunset of customer payment service integrations next year. Sage Intacct is working to sunset their customer payment service integrations with Authorize.net and PayPal in November of 2025. The customer payment services will no longer be supported or working after this time. Please do plan ahead for that change. We don't want anybody to be caught off guard by that. Cash management and revenue management. We're going to talk about both of those. We're going to cash management is going to prevent errors when creating bank or credit card accounts by this new feature. When creating a bank or credit card account, you cannot save a record if you've selected an account configured to be the default accounts payable or accounts receivable account. The best practice is to select a cash equivalent, or credit card liability account. For revenue management, there is an update. Sage Intacct has expanded the selection options of the Manage Revenue Schedules page, allowing you to select a larger number of rows efficiently. Now you can use the arrow next to the checkbox in the Filtered Schedules table header to perform the following actions. Select all on this page. That means you select all items currently visible on the page. Select all means select all items across all pages of the table. And clear selected means deselect all previously selected items. In construction, the updates are print time and materials and expense billing details for project contract invoices. You can now print time and materials and expense billing details directly from project contract invoices without creating a separate report. These billed expenses appear together for streamlined reporting and use on printed invoices. They also have added a scope and schedule to a project. And change management, you can track project change orders and change requests assigned to a project or project contract. Contracts. These are some great improvements to our users of contracts. Sage Intacct is excited to announce that they've added service periods to contracts. Service period dates now automatically populate and seamlessly flow from contracts to invoice generation. This means that customers can see exactly what period they're being billed for. Service periods represent the time frames during which your business services are provided or consumed. Two new fields are now available on contract billing schedule entries and contract usage entries: service period start date and service period end date. These fields automatically populate with default values based on the information provided in the contract line and usage record. You can edit the dates throughout the workflow for added flexibility. Existing contract lines and usage records will not have the default service period date fields populated. However, you can easily add missing dates during invoice generation. The service period dates carry through the invoices, so customers can see the associated service period for each line. You can view and edit service period dates at multiple stages in your workflow and set up printed invoices to display them. Service period date fields are available on billing schedules. When creating a contract line, you can preview the default service period dates for the billing schedule by selecting View Schedule. After the contract line is created, you can view the billing schedule to see the service period dates and edit the dates to suit your needs. Service period date fields are also available on usage records. When adding usage, the service period date fields automatically populate with the start and end dates of the month corresponding to the usage date you selected. You can modify the dates to suit your needs. You can also view the service period dates for all usage records on the Usage tab of contract lines. When generating invoices, you can choose from the following: do not override, override missing dates only, and override all dates. When reviewing an invoice, you can also preview the service period date fields for each contract billing schedule entry and contract usage entry. Service period date fields are available on contract invoices, provided the Enable for Contracts option is turned on in the order entry transaction definition. These fields appear in the Show Details section of your entry rows. You can also edit the invoice to modify the service period dates, provided the order entry transaction definition is configured for editing. If you use service periods frequently, you can move the date fields out of the Show Details section and into the table row for easier access. You can set up printed invoices to display these service periods. So service period date merge fields are available to add to printed document templates. Sage Intacct has added a new sample printed document template to help you get started. Clear and deliver in bulk and more. Manage contracts more efficiently from a centralized view using the following actions on the Manage Schedules page. You can clear revenue recognition, clear expense recognition, and deliver contract lines. Now you can manually clear and deliver in bulk across multiple contracts, eliminating the need to access each contract individually. You can clear posted recognition if, for example, you realize that wrong posted dates were used. This action resets the status of the selected rows in the schedule to open and reverses the applicable journal entries. If you use event-based recognition, use this feature to trigger revenue recognition by marking contract lines as delivered. Sage Intacct added support for user-defined dimensions on the Manage Schedules page. giving you more ways to refine a list of schedules or contract lines on which you want to act. The new user defined dimension section is located under the filters section. Sage Intacct expanded the selection options on the manage schedules page, allowing you to select large numbers of rows efficiently. Now you can use the arrow next to the checkbox in the table to perform the following actions. Select all on the page, select all, and clear selected, as we've seen before. Sage Intacct added the expense line number column to the results table for the post action, making it easier to differentiate between rows. This addition also aligns with the structure of the expense lines list. Previously, when you've selected preview for an action on the Manage Schedules page and then switched to a different action, the previous results table remained visible until you selected preview again. Now, when you change actions, the previous results table automatically hides. We're going to talk about syncing renewal templates to contracts. When you edit a renewal or evergreen template, you now have the option to sync your updates to scheduled renewals associated with the template. With this enhancement, you can push updates from the template to associate contracts, saving time and improving efficiencies. Only changes in the renewal action, days, contract end date, and recurring bill period end date fields in the renewal or evergreen template can initiate a sync. Renewal action field is only applicable if your company is subscribed to the Intacct Advanced CRM integration. Overriding posting dates and fixed asset management, When posting entries from post depreciation page, you now have the option to choose a custom posting date. The new date overrides the scheduled posting dates. This feature is particularly useful if entries were originally scheduled for a closed period, but you need to post them in an open period. Previously, posting entries from closed period required reopening and closing the books, which can be an inconvenient process. You will want to choose a new posting date that meets the following requirements: is in an open period, is on or after the first unposted entry's scheduled posting date in each schedule, is on or before the next unposted entry's scheduled posting date in each section. When added a new field called actual posting date on the following pages: the description schedule or depreciation schedule, post depreciation posted view, and bulk action run. Transaction allocations for assets is now supported. Allocations allow you to distribute asset-related transactions across multiple dimensions. For example, now you can automatically allocate 50% of the depreciation expense to, let's say, marketing department, and the remaining 50% to human resources department. You simply assign the allocation to the asset, and it will automatically carry over to any journal entries for that asset, improving both efficiency and accuracy. Some other updates in fixed asset management is added notes to assets, as you can see on your screen. Enhanced lists. Enhanced lists are available in the bulk action runs and asset groups pages. These pages now align with the rest of the fixed asset management application. And import service updates. There is a streamlined setup for GL outlier detection. GL outlier detection is a machine learning service that compares your historical transaction patterns to current transactions in the approval cycle. and flags transactions that do not match. When GL outlier detection is enabled, outlier detection starts indexing and evaluating your company's data to create a data model specific to your organization. If you're interested in enabling the GL outlier detection, then on your on the Configure AI Service page, you're going to select the Enable Data Service checkbox. The requirements for this particular detection service is you must have at least 1 month of data that's less than 2 years old, and at least have 1,000 posted general ledger journal entry lines. We are going to show how to add this if you're interested, to see if you can use the outlier detection. So we're going to go to Company. In the Admin tab, we're going to go to Subscriptions. In Subscriptions, there is the AI and Machine Learning. We're going to Configure. In the AI section, select Enable Data Service to allow Sage Intacct to index your company data. In the Outlier Detection section, select Enable for General Ledger Approval and then Save. When your model is ready, you can define custom settings for outlier detection in the Approval Options section of Configure General Ledger. Inventory control and supplies inventory. They've improved entry-level inventory valuation reporting. Reporting on inter-entity transactions can be challenging when your company completes transactions in different currencies and locations. Now, if transactions are the same currency, you can complete are completed at locations other than selected inventory valuation report location. The report summary will only include location-specific transactions. For order entry and purchasing, there are upcoming changes to document ID requirements launching in 2025 to align with the upcoming automation requirements and ensure consistency across applications. Sage Intacct will permit users to save draft sales transactions without a document ID. Projects and grants also has some great updates. Using retainage without a construction subscription, you can now use the retainage feature in accounts payable and accounts receivable without a construction subscription. Using retainage ensures that customers or vendors fulfill their obligations and complete the project to the agreed upon standards. Retainage works with accrual-only companies. You cannot use it with the contract subscription.
Okay, we've got our second to the last polling question up. I just wanted to let everyone know that one of the things that I include after the webinar is, in addition to the slides and a link to the recording, is a survey. And we're just finishing up 2024. And as we look ahead to 2025, I'd love to get your suggestions for any topics that you would like to see us cover in Hot Topics. And I'll be sure and share that with the Intacct team so that they can look through those and determine, you know, what we could do and how we could accommodate that. But I can't do it on the poll questions because it doesn't allow me open-ended questions. So I just ask that you take a quick look at the survey when I do the follow-up email and if you have any suggestions to please share them there. All right, I'm going to be closing up the poll and turning it back to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Dawn. Oh, tax. Don't we all love tax? There are some enhancements for tax submissions. You can see there are lots of things that they have been working on. You can now set the tax detail. Filing state is reporting or not reporting, as you can see on the screenshot. Transaction line items that use tax detail set as reporting will be included in tax submission calculations. Line items with tax details set as not reporting will be excluded. When creating a new tax detail, the tax UID is mandatory for tax details marked as reporting. It is optional for tax details marked as not reporting. Tax submissions for Custom Tax Solutions early adopter. The new tax submission workflow streamlines the tax filing process for any company using a custom tax solution. When you create a tax submission, you can track transactions that are included for a selected period and then run reports to extract the data needed for filing. After you complete your manual submission, you can mark the submitted transactions as filed. There are updates to tax schedules. Users of advanced tax or a VAT tax solution can override the default tax schedules in purchasing and order entry transactions. When you use a VAT tax solution, you can also set tax schedules as inactive. Get ready for those 1099s. They are a blink away. I know it is just around the corner, and the mention of a 1099 is received with mild dread or major dread, but Sage Intacct has great information to help you file your 1099s. There is a link to getting ready for the 1099 season in the release notes, and there are many additional links available. Sage Intacct has also teamed up again with Tax Bandits to help you e-file your 1099s. Tax Bandits is an authorized 1099 e-filing partner with the IRS. Time and expense. You can track time quickly and accurately with time clocks, the Sage Intelligent Time. This feature is coming out at the end of November, so not quite here yet, but pretty soon. Time clocks accurately record when employees clock in and out, including their breaks, ensuring precise timekeeping to help maintain compliance with labor laws by keeping detailed records of hours worked and mandatory breaks for all employees. Additionally, you can define different employee types and set specific rules for each, enabling effective tracking of clock in and clock out times. Defaults for location, entity, department, and class populate differently from the employee record. If a project is selected for an employee, those defaults populate from the project. Users can override the defaults. You can define standard and project rates for billing in Sage Intelligent Time also. This feature is coming in mid-December, so pretty soon. You can now establish clear and consistent billing rates per employee, employee group, project, or project group using rate cards. Rate cards will create transparent and consistent pricing structures, making it easier for clients to understand costs up front. This streamlined pricing process reduces the time and effort needed to negotiate rates for individual services. Additionally, rate cards are highly flexible and can be customized per person, per task, or at the project level. You can automate your employees' expenses. Sage Intacct is excited to announce a new automated workflow for submitting your employee expenses. It will save time and ensure accuracy by emailing employee expense receipts from any device directly into Sage Intacct. Your employees can now email their travel or other receipts using an artificial intelligence to assist in coding them. Machine learning remembers the changes from future receipts, making the whole employee expense report process even easier. That is going to be a great enhancement. There are enhancements to the Sage Intacct payroll powered by ADP. There are advanced updates to reporting and insights. So advanced reportings, ads, updates were included in the R4 release. There is new ICRW narrative view. There are new ICRW reload server metadata, new and enhanced ICRW report libraries. Oh, I'm so sorry. The new enhanced ICRW construction reports, new purchase order entry and project reports. Sage Intacct has added and updated a plethora of things for the industries listed. Way too many to review. There are links in the R4 2024 release notes where you can go and check out all of the updates and added features for these industries. Platform services and customization and extensions. You can locate location dimension supports up to 100 custom fields. You can now add up to 100 custom fields for location dimension. This allotment of custom fields is shared with the entity dimension, so you can add up to 100 custom fields combining the two dimensions. You can have more flexibility when structuring objects on pages with this release. You can enable or deactivate any additional property in the page editor for related records. The option to enable properties gives you more control over what actions users can take on the page. There are list enhancements. Sage Intacct is excited that more customers now have the chance to experience their list enhancements in beta. You can turn on list beta interface to personalize your list view, leverage advanced filters, manage lists, and record details side by side, and much more. This functionality is available now on several lists, and Sage Intacct has continued to add new lists for this release. Training and videos. There are always great training and video options out there. There is a customer certification for Sage Intacct. The Sage Intacct Accounting Specialist certification is now open to customers who perform financial transactions and generate reports using Intacct. This certification exam assesses your knowledge of Sage Intacct and the skills outlined in the certification guide. After passing the exam, you'll receive a certification and a badge. You can add these to your email signature. As you can see on the screen, makes you look smart. And we are to polling question number 8.
This is our final poll question. Sarah, I've got a question in the Q&A. So while folks are answering that, Jason has a question. Back to the AP automation, is there an approval process for invoices?
Okay, does that mean that I'm not okay? I think that's a bigger question than I would need to ask some additional questions. Jason, would you please submit a case? If you don't know how, well, you can send it to
So Martha over in the
you.
chat has said it's the same as AP approvals. So
Perfect,
I
thank
think
you.
I'm connecting the right answer with the
Yes.
with the right question.
I think so. Great.
All right. So Sarah, on this one, I think I got it right. Is it the first two answers? The winter solstice is the day of the year with the least amount of sunshine, and it takes place in December.
It is actually the top 3.
Top 3.
Yes.
All right. I will end the poll.
Fantastic. And we are going to go to some Q&A. Does anybody have any Q&A as we wrap up this last few seconds of the session today?
Last chance, everybody. We've got a minute left, so you can either use the chat or use the Q&A, but right now I don't see anything. So huge gratitude to Green Shades for sponsoring this. They make it possible they underwrite the cost of the CPE processing and certificates. Thank you to Deanna Brooks for sharing the customer success plans. And Sarah, thank you so much for all the work that you put into the deep dives that we did in the first half and the R4 highlights. And we hope to see all of you on a future Hot Topics. Thanks, everyone.